Story 1. AITA for not splitting my mom's inheritance with my siblings. Original post posted on January 12, 2025. I, 28EF, have 6 siblings. Our mom recently passed in November from stage 4 cancer. I had a really great relationship with my mom. We would spend time together, and my 4 children, 5-year-old twins, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old, all loved her. I am the youngest of all my siblings. My older siblings didn't prioritize much time with my mom until the last few months when she couldn't do much for herself anymore. I currently live with my boyfriend, 38M, and our 4 children in a 3-bedroom apartment. It's a nice apartment, but of course is not ideal for our large family. Over the summer, while my mom was still very coherent, she signed a transfer on death of her house, 5-bedroom, 3-bath, to me for myself, my boyfriend, and our children to move into. She did the transfer so I wouldn't have to buy the house, as we would not be able to afford a loan for her house. And her house only had less than a year left until it was completely paid off, so we would be able to afford her payments that way. All of my other siblings own their own homes and have plenty of room in their homes for their individual families. I didn't ask my other siblings if they were okay with this, but I didn't see it as their decision or whether they had a say, considering it's our mom's house and she had final say anyway. And like I said, all of my siblings own their own homes anyway. Once my mom passed, she had some medical bills that needed taking care of, so it seemed as though we would need to sell the house to take care of them. After looking into it more, my boyfriend said he would buy the house at just enough to cover the medical bills, rather than what it's worth considering. We cannot afford what it's worth, plus my mom had planned on us just moving in and not doing any sort of loan anyway. She had a cash inheritance which she left my oldest sister Melanie, 43F, to split equally among all of my siblings. Since my mom has passed, we have asked Melanie how much is left in the inheritance, as it would be split 7 ways, and she would always kind of dodge the question. She would say she hasn't counted it yet or she's unsure. My mom also had some coins that were worth some money. She had 4 coins worth about $3,200 and a 5th coin worth about $1,200. I only found out about these coins from my other sister Rochelle, 35F, because she told me Melanie thought about giving the A coin worth $3,200 to herself, Rochelle, my brother Nick, 37M, and myself. The coin worth less to another hand-picked sibling, and then just never telling the last 2 siblings about the coins at all. That really upset me. I understand the coins gain value over time, and that's why they didn't want to pawn them for cash to split equally, but that is really unfair, and considering there are not 7 coins, I believe the fairest situation would be to pawn them for cash so everyone could be involved. I suggested that, and then never heard anything else about the coins after that. And then one day last week when I had Rochelle and my niece over for dinner, she dropped a gold coin out of her purse and quickly put it back. I never said anything, but I couldn't believe they decided to kick me out of that inheritance because I stuck up for the 3 siblings that were going to be slighted. Well, flash to a couple days ago, my boyfriend got approved for the loan. I told Melanie about this to keep her in the loop, and her response shocked me. She told me she did not feel comfortable selling the house to my boyfriend. I didn't understand because selling the house to my boyfriend was just a way for us to keep the house so that my mom's medical bills would get paid. And my mom's wishes were for my family to move into the house. After I got off the phone with Melanie, I called Rochelle to see how she felt, but she couldn't talk right away. Once I was able to talk to Rochelle, it was very clear Melanie had gotten to her first and manipulated the situation. So I texted the group chat with my siblings. Essentially, they all want to sell the house at full value to a stranger so they can receive an inheritance of cash from the house selling. Melanie had very obviously made them believe that my mom only transferred the house into my name so I could take care of selling it and splitting the money with all of my siblings. That wasn't the truth, and I tried telling them that our mom did not do that, but Melanie had manipulated the situation. For context, Melanie is the oldest, and all of our siblings can be pretty easily manipulated in a situation when it comes to Melanie. It sounds terrible, but it's true. I can see right through it and tried to say my side, but they are all on Melanie's side. They all want cash from the house, but I want to live in it like my mom had intended. Like I said, my mom transferred the house into my name. So I am going through with selling the house to my boyfriend to pay my mom's medical bills, and so us and our 4 children can live there. My siblings feel like I have scammed them out of an inheritance, but I feel like I found a way to get the medical bills paid so that my family can live there, which is what my mom intended when she was here. So am I the asshole? Update was posted on January 13th, 2025. So first I want to say, I am so appreciative of all the comments that seemingly are truly looking out for my best interest. My oldest sister, Melanie, had made me believe that the debt needed to be paid from the house, not the cash estate. She would never disclose to us that there was enough to pay off my mom's medical bills. I contacted an estate attorney and ended up speaking with the attorney who was directly handling my mom's medical debts. He told me that there was no need to sell the house right now, that my family could move into it with no worry of paying the medical debt until the future if I ever decided to sell it. So that's what we are going to do. If we ever decide to sell it, which I don't see right now why we would, as finding a 5-bedroom house is really hard to come by, we will split the sale of the house after her medical debts are paid, and of course subtract any money we put into it going forward from their portion. I do agree that keeping the deed of the house in my name is the wise decision, so that I will always have that security with my children if something were to ever happen between myself and my partner. I really appreciate all of the comments making that aware to me and all of the comments wanting to make sure I seeked out a lawyer. As far as the coins go, I didn't mention them because I was upset I wasn't getting a portion. I understand getting the house is a big deal. I mentioned what was happening with the coins to give an example as to why I don't feel I can trust Melanie, and why I feel like she is not being honest about the money and the estate, which she wasn't. There is more money than just the coins that she is not being honest about. The deceptiveness is what hurts me. I feel like I am very open and honest with my family and would never try to deceive them. I would rather all conversations, especially with my family, hold integrity. Once I had felt settled and secure with talking to the lawyer, I texted my sibling group chat to let them know what was going on, that the house will stay in my name. Melanie has been manipulating the situation, and once she thought I was selling it to my boyfriend, I knew she would tell all my other siblings that the problem is not that I was keeping the house, but that it would no longer be in my name. I can tell she is very angry that she can longer spin the story for her narrative. But this is what my mom had intended in the first place. For myself and my children to have somewhere to live, and she always knew my boyfriend was in our package deal. Melanie still seems mad, but I don't see the problem anymore. I'll keep this post updated if anything else happens to come up. Again, thank you to everyone for the advice. It really helped me out so much and put me in a much more secure position. Story 2. AITA for telling my mother-in-law my toddler will not be going with her on a vacation she planned without asking. Original post, August 7th, 2022. I have an almost 3-year-old beautiful little girl. She's just a few weeks shy of her 3rd birthday. My baby was out in hospice 4 weeks ago after having gone into remission late May. Unfortunately, the cancer has returned, except it is now crushing her optic nerve and is about 8 centimeters long. Multiple doctors recommended we make our daughter as comfortable as possible, as they do not believe removing the tumor is a good option. I have so much to say in regards to her diagnosis, but heartbroken will suffice for now. My husband and I have been making tons of memories with her for the past few weeks. We've included family in some of these memories, but we both feel that we want to spend as much time with our daughter as possible. My mother-in-law called me yesterday to tell me she booked tickets/hotel/airfare for a trip next month. I thought it sounded fun until she said she was taking our toddler with her. Just her, my daughter, and her husband. She did not invite my husband and I. My daughter isn't even 3 yet. She has never stayed overnight anywhere, and mother-in-law wants to take her for one entire week across the country alone. I suggested that my husband and I both go that way our daughter is comfortable, and for God's sake, in the event she dies, she can't be gone for a week. Her nurses are here. Her care is here. I suggested, what if we all go for a shorter amount of time? I came up with various suggestions to which all were turned down. I should add that if my daughter was not in hospice, I still would not be comfortable with our toddler being across the country for a week alone without her parents. My child being in hospice adds another layer of complexity to the situation. I told my mother-in-law that her decisions that she made alone without consulting us was a solid no. She called me a few names and hung up on me. She then called my husband and called me a few names and suggested she would fight for rights before my daughter dies. I'm already grieving. My husband said we should acquiesce to his mother's trip to avoid drama, even though he agrees that our daughter is too young. But I want to spend time with her before the cancer takes her. She's too little, etc. I said no for various reasons, not just to say no. Relevant comment? Being boring. NTA. I cannot fathom this, and I know your MIL is grieving as well, but this is not the way for her to handle it. I know internet words ring hollow, but please stay strong and love the heck out of that little girl for as long as you can. OP. Thank you. Mill is definitely grieving. I have suggested to her various times that she seek someone else to grieve to, vent to, because she often believes and acts like our grief is the same, and that she's going to have a mother's broken heart. My therapist has also told me that her and I are not in the same circle of grief. Even my own mother doesn't act like that. My own mother has even told me she cannot fathom being in my shoes because she's never lost a child. It's a twisted situation. And I feel like when my daughter is gone, I want to be as far away from this family as possible. My husband included. Guess Magadario. NTA. First, I'm heartbroken for you. Second, regardless of health, a 3-year-old isn't really ready for a week-long trip without mom and dad. Add to the fact that she's in hospice, and she has needs that MIL could not possibly provide on her vacation. Your MIL is not entitled to what I'm sure she calls her baby. OP. She has said on multiple occasions that no one is going to miss her baby as much as she is. I just sit there thinking what is going to happen when my daughter passes and I'm falling apart. Who's going to hold me up? Right now, my daughter is my motivation, but once she's gone, I don't even foresee myself being able to get up out of bed. I've been a stay-at-home mommy to my daughter for her entire life. I left my career to be at home with her. I don't even remember what my life was like before I had my baby. I feel like mother-in-law is going to make my daughter's death about her, and I don't know if I'll be able to handle it. Mercershire. NTA, and tell your husband to get his S and T together. You don't take a 3-year-old on hospice on vacation without their parents. My heart breaks for you. I'm so sorry your MIL is adding stress to this situation. OOP. Him and I had a discussion this morning while our daughter was still asleep. I told him that I currently do not foresee myself staying married to him once my daughter is gone. Not after this. Not if he doesn't stand up for his daughter, his wife, and our family. He looked pretty shocked. But I'm pretty set on not having anything to do with his family, and him included. I thought him and I were a team, but he's been spineless with his mom most of our marriage, and I'm usually the one who is setting boundaries. I think my daughter having cancer and being in hospice is what broke this camel's back. OP added this comment about her daughter's illness. I'm so sorry for the loss of your child. Soon I will be part of that club that no one wants to be a part of. Maybe if you're okay with it, I can message you and ask more questions. It's all a blur. There have been so many comments and I haven't been able to reply to all of them. But yours stood out because my daughter has RMS, rhabdomyosarcoma, which was first discovered in her foot. She had beat stage 4 cancer and relapsed a month later. In fact, Wednesday will be 1 month that she relapsed. We've been given 6 to 8 weeks. We started morphine last week, so that's been tough. We are still managing to do fun things with her despite her illness. A great company gifted us a little wagon so we're able to take her to Disneyland, museums, fairs, etc. You're right about memories being etched in your brain. The last year and a half has been a journey. The last 4 weeks have been bittersweet. I don't even like to sleep because I'm afraid I'll miss out. My baby is sleeping now, so I feel comfortable reading through my messages, but even then here I am laying next to her. I haven't left her side. I can't. I don't want to miss the small moments either. The way she breathes to the way she snores at night. It's so much in such a little amount of time, and I'm worried I'm going to miss it if I even take a nap, let alone a weeks-long trip without me. I told my husband today that I am going no contact with his mother. It's not fair to me to deal with her while enjoying my daughter, while simultaneously preparing myself for her death and life after. But I'm not going to leave her side. I'll be right here till the very end. And what her daughter's hospice nurses thought of the situation. I told 2 of our hospice nurses, and they both were floored. They thought I was joking, and they were both appalled that I was being serious. My husband even told one of the nurses, "Well, my mom has good intentions." My daughter's care team, including 3 doctors, do not recommend we fly. They also do not recommend that we are gone for that long without care. I asked them to document everything. It's been a crazy day, and I'm shocked I managed to eat 1 meal. Edit. Thank you to everyone who took the time to share their thoughts and insights. I appreciate the outpouring of messages, and I'm sorry I haven't had a chance to reply to them all. I wanted to add a few things. My mother-in-law lives in the same county as us, in the same city as my parents. It's only about a 20-minute drive without traffic. However, my in-laws have always been very adamant that we visit them, so I usually take my daughter over every other week for a few hours for a visit. Rarely do they ever come to our home. My parents like to visit and always have. My daughter is much closer to my parents for this reason. Anytime my husband and I go to date nights, my parents come over and watch her because they like for her to be in her comfort zone. This is before the cancer. Since the cancer diagnosis, we've been in and out of the hospital for weeks at a time. My parents have still been very much involved with helping, but I'm the form of dropping off meals, helping with laundry, etc. I'm very close to my family, and my family has been very respectful of us needing space as a family during this time. I think my in-laws may be expediting guilt because they haven't made much of an effort to visit us, see us, or accommodate us. It's always about what I, their daughter-in-law, can do for them. Have always felt like an incubator who's just there to facilitate a relationship between them and my child. Also, to add, I am set on distancing myself as much as I can. I've cut off contact with my mill, and I do not want her around after this fiasco. I've completely blocked her from my phone, and I communicated this to my husband. He is sad, but says he understands. A few of you mentioned that this was an eye-opening situation, and it really has been, on many levels. Second edit. I saw various commands about mother-in-law possibly wanting to taking my child on a trip to get her alternative treatment. Mother-in-law planned to take my child to Disney World in Florida, which is across the country from where we live. Mother-in-law lives in the same state, in the same county as us. My husband and I have taken our child to Disneyland a few times in her life, and most recently once. Going for 1 day was exhausting, and my daughter was spent after the day. I can't imagine my daughter handling Disney World for more than a day, but also I would like to be there for said trip. Even if my child wasn't dying, I would still not be comfortable with her going without me. It's such a bizmare situation. Mother-in-law isn't one for alternative treatments, and I haven't outright asked her, but I wouldn't be shocked at this point. Either way, my child isn't going anywhere with her. Supervised or not, I've already made that clear to my husband. She wants to come and visit, it will have to be at our home. Even then, I'm still not on board after everything that has transpired. I've been thinking really deeply the last few months, but even more so in the last 24 hours. I don't know how I can continue being part of this family. I'm trying not to think too far ahead, but I'm seriously doubting continuing on in this marriage. Thank you again, everyone. Third edit. I am really close with my family, specifically my mom and aunt. They know the wishes I have for my daughter. My husband and I argued about where our daughter should be buried for a good week. It was awful. He wanted her buried with his grandma and where his parents and him will be buried. I wanted her buried at the cemetery my grandparents are buried at and where I plan to be buried at. My husband is in the military, so I'm confused as to why he does not want to be buried with his combat brothers, but that's entirely up to him. After this fiasco with his mother, I put my foot down about where I would like my daughter's final resting place to be. I just never thought it would be so much back and forth about where she will get buried, the week-long trip we weren't invited on or consulted about, and acquiescing his mother's wishes. Shit show, to say the least. I love my husband, but I am appalled by his behavior. I should also add that my family was very supportive about where I wanted my daughter to be buried at when the topic came up. They even said wherever we want because it's not their choice. I even entertained cremation just to try and come to a middle ground of sorts. I didn't even want to discuss burials and cremations until I absolutely had to. I've been avoiding it. Now it feels morbid to discuss it because my daughter is still alive. My husband's family was upset when they brought the topic up, because I didn't automatically want my daughter at their cemetery of choice. Their main argument was that my daughter carries their last name, so she should go there. My argument was my family already has 4 open plots, and I want to make one a double for me to be when my time comes. I'm even exhausted writing this, because this is my life, and it shouldn't be. We should be a team, united in grief. Now I feel like all I have is my baby and my family to hold me up. Verdict, not the asshole. Final edit, August 14th, 2022, 1 week later. Eat it. It's been a few days since I've been online and I've read some of the messages. Truly thank you to everyone who has sent their warm wishes, support, encouragement, etc. It's been very touching and I'm so grateful. My daughter has begun slowly deteriorating and it's become all very overwhelming. My husband now realizes that this time is precious, that we are on borrowed time and that our time, Mom and Dad, is the most important time. We've had 2 sessions of grief, counseling, couples counseling, while my daughter sleeps. Our therapist has really helped us both understand how borrowed our time is and how this time truly is for us. Everyone else is secondary. Not to say that extended family isn't important. They are, but there is a lot of extended family. A lot. However, I'm not sure I will be staying married in the long run, although this isn't the time to make such a deep decision. I am emotionally drained from all that has transpired, not only this past week, but this past year. You truly see people's true colors when shit hits the fan. An example of this is on my phone. I have 8 different alarms each day for my daughter for all of the medication she takes daily. I have been the one who flushes ports, administers medication, cleans up vomit, gives back rubs and the like. I have been in this through the thick of it, having to learn everything, because no one else will. My mother has been the only person who has asked how I'm doing, who has brought me coffee, meals, held me when I've cried, who's been a rock. My husband will sometimes be emotional present, but usually he's not. Other than my mother, I have never received a text from any other family asking how I'm doing or how they can help. Like I said earlier, I see everybody's true colors. My focus right now is my baby. I will focus on the rest when the time comes. But for now we are surviving, and we are trying our best. Story 3. AITA for losing my shit and screaming at my GF to get out of my house after what her stepbrother did? Original post, January 11th, 2025. GF was over at my place 2 days ago. We're both 20. She has a stepbrother who's 23. Before this, I'd only met him a few times and he seemed like a regular dude. She asked if it was okay for him to come over too for a couple of hours. I said, why not? He said he would get booze and pizza, and my parents were away visiting relatives for the weekend, so I figured we could shoot the shit. I have a little sister who's 15. They came over and she stayed up in her room the entire time. We were all a bit tipsy, and my GF stepbrother asked if he could use the washroom. I pointed him to the one down the hall. My GF and I were preoccupied and didn't even realize how much time he was taking until we heard raised voices upstairs. We immediately went up to check what was going on and found my sister crying. Dude had gone up instead of using the washroom. My sister's door had been ajar, so he apparently walked into her room. All details I managed to wrangle from my crying sister BTW. She was taken by shock and was trying to stay calm, but he wasn't leaving. He was trying to chat her up. She told him to GTFO and he closed the door behind him instead, which is why she started freaking out. She tried to get past him to open the door and he grabbed her, but she managed to open it anyway. I'd reached the landing by then, so he backed off. Obviously, I was super fucking pissed. There was a lot of screaming going on, lots of accusations. We were all drunk except for my sister. After getting the story from her, GF's stepbrother was stuttering and deflecting. I'm pretty sure I threatened violence at some point. My GF was trying to be the mediator. She said I had to calm down and couldn't fly off the handle based off word of mouth. But I was there. I saw my sister crying in panic. I know what she's like, and I know she wouldn't lie about something like this. Why would she? I told her stepbrother to get out of my house. My GF kept saying we could sort this out and have a proper conversation, but I didn't see what conversation was there to be had. Eventually, she said, what if my sister was lying, in front of my sister's face? I asked her what on earth would make her think that, and she said she's a kid and could be making it up for attention. Like the title said, I lost my shit. I told her to get the fuck out, and afterwards she kept calling me, but I ignored everything. The dust has settled a bit. I went over everything again with my little sister. She promised me it had happened the way she was telling me. She told me she was scared he was going to SA her. My GF texted me this morning saying I shouldn't have raised my voice like that, and I scared her. I thought of apologizing then, but she still hadn't said a word about apologizing to my sister or addressing the issue with her stepbrother. I only replied that we had to talk, and she said there's nothing to talk about. There's no hard proof in her words, and the stepbrother ended up doing nothing, so she told me she would deal with him, and I should drop it. IDK, if I'm the asshole for the way I handled this, maybe if cooler heads prevailed, this silent treatment wouldn't have happened, and we could have discussed everything. IDK, what to do from now on either. I love that girl. I don't want us to be over, so I want some advice on where to go from here too. AITA has no consensus bot. OOP was NTA. Commenter 1. NTA. Protect your sister. And maybe have a big long talk with GF if she doesn't understand, then reevaluate your relationship. OOP. I'm definitely not losing sleep over the way I treated the stepbrother. I think I should have done worse, and could have done worse. But I just wanted him out of the house. I'm pissed because over these 2 days, all her texts were about how she felt and how I could have handled this better, and she's never seen this side of me. Which is all true, but when I messaged her back to ask about her bro, her response was effectively, drop it. I can't believe she's being so callous about this. Commenter 2. She's showing you who she really is, someone who only cares about herself. She's not a good choice for a partner and never will be unless she miraculously develops self-awareness and empathy, which is unlikely. OOP. Ironically, she advocates for SA survivors in her campus and college town. I've been with her for approximately 1.5 years, and she's into volunteering at women's shelters and everything. I was fucking blindsided by this and her response to it. It's a learning experience, and it's really unfortunate that my sister was caught up in it. Commenter 3. So why are you still determined to be in a relationship with her? God forbid next time he does manage to actually assault your sister, what then? Why would you open up that possibility of harm to your sister? OOP. I agree. The comments have been very helpful and pushed me over the edge. I've decided I'm going to break up with her. I don't know if it's worth it pursuing legal action, police regarding her stepbrother, but I'll see depending on how my sister feels about it. OOP needs to reevaluate the relationship with his GF regarding the stepbrother. OOP. Thank you for this comment. It was nice reading my feelings put into words. Nothing actually happened. But even if my sister wasn't freaked out and crying, I'd tell him to leave just because he went upstairs and into her room. I'm hoping it's just my GF defending family, but some other comments made me realize, even if she does come around, I can't have a future with her without this asshole being there always. And I won't do that to my sister. So I'm seriously thinking of asking her to meet in person so I can have a proper talk, and then call things off. Commenter 4. NTA. Break up with your girlfriend and protect your sister. The GF is an enabler. I know she has had to see or sense the creep before. Buttered_crumpet09. Hey GF, this isn't about you and your feelings. Your adult drunk stepbrother went into the bedroom of my underage teenage sister, shut the door behind him, and would not leave. The best thing that I could do was make him leave. Rather than being appalled and apologetic, you had the audacity to question whether my sister was being honest in front of her, at which point I lost my temper. How could you accuse her of that whilst seeing how upset she was? Even if you had doubts, that wasn't even vaguely the time or place. Since this happened, the only person you've cared about yourself. You want an apology for my being angry and shouting, but not once have you apologized or asked about my sister. Again, this isn't about you, and I don't think this is going to work out since I want to protect my underage sister and you want to protect your feelings and your potential predator of a stepbrother. Am I sorry I raised my voice at you? Yes, but if ever a situation warranted it, it was then. And no, you've never seen me like this because I've never been in a position where a grown man shut himself in my sister's bedroom and made her afraid she was going to be SA'd. Now we're done and there's nothing left to say. That's what I'd send to her. She's a shitbag and I'd bet he's done this shit before. Update. January 13th, 2025, 2 days later. First off, thanks everyone who commented on my previous post. Link to original. I tried to read as many comments as I could. I got some great advice. My GF asked me yesterday if we could talk in person. I agreed. We met at a public park. She showed up already looking on the verge of tears. U/buttered_crumpet09. Your comment was goated. I basically said it word for word to her LOL. She let me speak and was silent for a long time before she said she was sorry for the way she had reacted. She told me she had been drunk and panicked and hadn't been thinking clearly and was trying to stop it from becoming a fight. We discussed her stepbrother. She told me he has a weird streak and acts oddly sometimes. She told me he genuinely could have made a mistake and didn't mean any harm. I asked why he'd gone upstairs in the first place and why he'd shut himself in with my sister on finding out he was in the wrong room. No answer. I asked how was she so sure he had no perverted intentions. No answer. Some of you suggested that the stepbrother might have had a history and even might have done something to her. I didn't outright say it, but I was implying it. I kept saying, what if he had gone further? What if he's assaulted someone before and you don't know about it, etc.? I asked if there had been incidents like this before and how she could possibly downplay what happened. She didn't have anything to say, but again, at that point she was too choked up to speak properly, so I don't think she could have answered even if she wanted to. Anyways, I wasn't there to listen to excuses or justifications, and I told her that. She asked me if we were over, and I said the only way we could move forward was if she apologized to my little sister and then stopped all contact with her stepbrother. I just don't see a scenario where my sister feels comfortable around him again. She told me she didn't want to lose me, but she couldn't do what I asked from her. So I told her, yes, we're done. My parents came back this morning, BTW. Like I said, they had been out of town at relatives' place. I hadn't told them about this over the phone. I just said an incident had happened and I would explain when they got back. My sister asked me to speak to them on her behalf, and I told them everything. My dad gave me a lot of shit, rightfully so. He says he wants to speak to my ex's parents about this, let them know what their son did. Police here are about as useful as tits on a bull, but we discussed it and we're going to file a report, /auto de noticia anyway. I highly doubt it will go anywhere, but at least it will be a record in the system. My sister is doing better. She was really shaken up. She asked if she could sleep in my parents' room or mine for a bit. We will probably arrange a therapy or counseling session for her and let her decide if she wants to continue. I'm going to take her bowling and then we'll get food. Just the two of us, so I can also apologize on my part. I feel upset. I feel guilty, actually. I trusted my ex and me being naive put my little sister in danger. I've always thought I was a responsible person, and this happening when I was supposed to be in charge is fucking me up. I'm pissed at myself, NGL, but we move. My favorite comments to read were the ones telling me what to do to the stepbrother. I don't ever want to see his face again, but in case I do, someone LMK if you have a wood chipper lying around. Thanks again, everybody. Edit. Some things. People have asked if I can run a background check or something. I don't think it's legal for a civilian to do that in my country, Portugal, and IDK. If I can request one, I'll see, though. Also, to everybody commenting about underage drinking, I was so confused. That's not a problem here, LMAO. I won't be incriminating myself or anything by filing a report, so DW. Relevant comment. Commenter 1. I was waiting for this update, LOL. Good on you, mate. I still think the creep did something to your ex, which is why she kept deflecting and answering vaguely, saying he acts odd sometimes. Even if he did, it's not your responsibility now, though. Your poor baby sister, hopefully she heals quickly from this. OP. Most people seem to think so. I will say my ex's mother has been with her stepdad for nearly 6 years. She never liked discussing her family and had only recently introduced me to all of them. She never gave any indication of a bad relationship between her and her stepdad brother. I would have never guessed in a million years if abuse or assault was happening. I hope it's not the case because that would be seriously fucked up. What could OOP's ex not agree to? Cutting off contact with her stepbrother? Or not apologizing to OOP's sister? OOP cutting off her stepbrother. TBH. I met her with my mind already made up. I was going to break up with her no matter what. I didn't expect her to stop contact with him, and I was right. She wasn't willing to. It's whatever. It's shitty. But breaking up was the cleanest solution, I think. Editor's note. A couple comments were made in Portuguese. I have them translated as they are relevant to OOP's update. Commenter 3. In Portugal? Unfortunately, complaints like these fall on deaf ears. And when they go to court, it seems like they just get a slap on the wrist and go on with their lives. OP. Exactly. Our judicial system is incompetent and unable to deliver justice even in serious cases with physical evidence. In my case, all the evidence is word of mouth, so I have no hope. But I'm going to file a complaint anyway. Commenter 4. You can do a background check in PT, but the other person needs to be there and consent. Just another stupid law among the many we have. Our police will do nothing in your case. Unfortunately, but at least there is a regist if someone else's complains about him. OP. I figured it was something like that. But it's okay even if nothing happens to you now. I don't doubt he'll try something like this again in the future, and it might be easier to convict him later if there's a record. Story 4. AITA for not letting my son skip grades? Original post. January 6th, 2025. I am married and have 2 sons, 10M and 13M. My 10-year-old has always been a curious and, to me, fairly typical kid. However, his school suggested we take him to a psychologist to see if he might be gifted. Turns out he is indeed considered gifted. The issue now is that the school wants to skip him ahead 2 grades because they say he already has the knowledge for it. My wife is fully on board with this. I'm against it, largely due to my own personal experience. I was advanced in school, and it didn't go well for me. I was physically smaller than my classmates and often got bullied for it. I was also socially excluded. On top of that, I worry it might create feelings of inadequacy for my older son, seeing his younger brother so close to him in grade level. My wife thinks I'm completely wrong. She's very upset because the school won't advance our son unless we both agree. At this point, she's barely speaking to me and has accused me of holding our son back for no good reason and seriously harming his future. We haven't talked to our kids about it yet because I don't think either of them is mature enough to grasp the complexities of the situation. So AITA for not letting my son skip grades? Verdict: no assholes here. Relevant comment? Commenter 1 NTA. Of course you're NTA, you're looking out for your son's well-being. Firstly, congrats on having a gifted kid. That's a sign that you and your wife are doing a good job of raising him. It's not just about now, but also about what happens later. If he goes to college early and he's not only physically but also emotionally immature relative to his peers there, then he'll likely have a difficult time relating to them. I found that forming a new group of close friends quickly was crucial for staying emotionally healthy in college. Additionally, when he's a bit older and they can legally drink but he can't, then he's likely going to feel left out. You also raise a very good point about your other son's potential reaction. You need to handle this whole situation carefully and make sure he doesn't feel left out or as though his standing is diminished. Does your son know that him skipping grades are being considered? How does he feel about it? OOP. I don't deserve any praise for him being gifted. It's simply a condition he was born with, just like he could have been born with countless other traits. It's the lottery of life genetics. We are thinking to talk to him about skipping grades, but we are not sure if he is mature enough to understand the complexity of this situation. Commenter 2. NTA to be cautious. Socially, it could be very difficult as your son enters middle and high school. The school might think he is bored with the current level of subjects if he's gifted. 2 grades is a very large leap. Possibly consider 1 grade, but he should have a say in the decision. OOP. He read his older brother's books and apparently picked up the subjects. I thought he was just reading out of curiosity, but after the school suggested advancing him because of his knowledge, it all made sense why he enjoyed reading those books. Update. way back, January 10th, 2025. I decided to post this update because I received so many helpful responses from people genuinely concerned about my kids. So first, this is a thank you. My wife and I already had a meeting scheduled with the school for the following day. I brought up questions, many of which were also raised here. Why skip 2 grades instead of focusing on specific subjects? The school explained that this is an exceptional case because his teacher confirmed that he already knows all the material that would be taught next year. It's not like he's only advanced in one subject, like math or any other example. I disagreed, pointing out that by this logic, the following grade levels would also quickly become obsolete for him. They clarified that if that happens, they'll continue advancing him and offering specialized-only activities in the areas he enjoys most. The teacher also mentioned that while my son isn't disruptive, his behavior is being imitated by classmates who don't have the same abilities, which ends up disrupting the others. Bullying concerns. I've already told the school I'm worried he'll be bullied, and I repeated it during the meeting. The school insists that it's not an issue and that teachers will pay close attention. To me, this is a red flag because bullying happens in every school, even if adults don't notice it and the kids experiencing it can't express their struggles. Physical and social development differences. The school admitted that physical development differences are almost unavoidable, and there's not much they can do about that. However, they believe social development isn't as much of a concern because they view my son as more mature than the kids in his current grade. They acknowledged that physical development is a downside, but framed it as a not everything in life is perfect kind of situation. After, we sat down with our younger son. We explained that the school wants to move him ahead, shared my personal experience, and told him we wanted to hear his thoughts. At first he said he didn't know what to say, so we asked him questions like whether he found school boring or if he thought he could be friends with older kids. In the end, he said he'd like to learn more, but admitted he was a little scared of the older boys. I think my experience influenced his response. We made an agreement to ask the school if he could try advancing 1 grade for the remainder of this school year. Then next year we'll decide what to do based on how he feels about it. We spoke with the school again, and starting next week he'll begin testing in the higher grade. I also had a conversation with my older son and used the NBA as an analogy to help him understand. I told him that not everyone is LeBron James, but that doesn't mean the other players aren't great. Finally, we're putting both kids in therapy to ensure they have the support they need. Relevant comment. Commenter 1. The first red flag was the thing about how kids imitating him is disruptive. OP is probably being vague to keep word count down, but that sounds like a teacher who isn't handling kids who finish early well. If what he is doing isn't disruptive, that means something like reading. So other kids wanting to finish and read is bad? Good that they are testing, though. I would be wondering if he is as smart as this teacher thinks he is, or if this teacher is just too obsessed with averages. OOP. She said that he finishes his work and then starts talking to his classmates. The issue is that he starts talking after he's already done, while his classmates interact with him before they've finished their own work. Another example is that he completes his homework during class, so he has nothing left to do at home. Other kids see this and rush to finish their own assignments, but they end up doing them poorly, whereas my son gets everything done thoroughly and correctly. The teacher also actually tested him on the material from the next grade level. She showed us the results, and based on his test scores, he would rank among the top students in that class. Commenté 2. You are worried about factors that can also come into play if he doesn't skip grades. This is it for me. Does OP not realize how smarter kids get mercilessly picked on in whatever class they're in, regardless of whether they're the same age or younger? OOP. I don't disagree, but when you're around kids your own size, you can at least physically defend yourself. When the other kids are much bigger, it's a different story. Story 5. AITA for turning down a Christmas dinner invitation from my mom's family. Original post, posted on December 2nd, 2021. So I, 21F, am currently in university and live on a dorm, using my own money and everything. My mom, 40F, had me when she was 19. My dad joined the military to provide, and so he was gone most of the time. My parents split up when I was young, and my mom and I moved across the country. My mom started dating again when I was a teenager, and it was like I became invisible. When she married Gregory, 50M, it became even different. I grew really resentful when my mom had a new baby, and I'll admit that it wasn't healthy, and neither was my attitude. When the time for university came, I got a good enough scholarship and moved out. I am honestly surprised they noticed I was even gone. I've gotten 2 texts from my mom a year, Happy Birthday and Happy New Year's. Only this year did I get a 3rd text, and that's just to announce I have a new baby sister. So, I got an email the other day that was pretty much an invite to a Christmas dinner that they were hosting, and it seems like a lot of extended family are going to be there. I don't want to be there, so I declined the invite. Yesterday I got a phone call from my mom crying about me deciding not to come for the dinner and really wanting to see me. Then Gregory took the phone and all but called me an asshole while scolding me. It's made me feel a little bad because she's still my mom and I feel like I should just go for her sake. Relevant comment. Commenter, yup, NTA. She's crying and he's mad because your absence at Christmas will raise a ton of questions about their parenting, or lack thereof, that they aren't comfortable answering because it'll make them look bad. OP, I doubt it. The entire extended family knows, and they aren't hiding that I'm not part of the family according to my grandmother. And she's shown me Facebook photos where they've had captions like complete family and other stuff. And while my grandmother said she'd like me to reconcile, she thinks it's better for me if I don't. As much as I dislike Gregory, I do know him well enough to know that he does love my mom and hates seeing her cry. As for Mom, I'm sure she wants to see me for me, or because she feels bad, but that doesn't mean she deserves it. She didn't even invite me with a phone call or text, just an impersonal evite. I really do feel terrible for making her cry, though, and do wish I hadn't done that. Commenter, oh, so it might not be that your mom wants to play happy family, but more about your mom realizing that hosting with a baby is a lot of work, and she's looking for a babysitter/maid/cook to help her with everything. If she wants to see you so badly, there are 364 other days out of the year she could be a mom too. OP. Gregory didn't let me near the last baby he and my mom had, and that's when I lived there. I doubt he'd want to now. Commenter, you wouldn't be TA for declining, but familial connections with extended family can become an important support system for a young adult who is starting her life. I don't know you, but barring some harsh details that I'm definitely not asking you to share, it might be a good idea to meet your extended family as an adult and let them meet you as an adult. If conditions are good, you may find yourself developing relationships with them that are separate from your mom's. You don't need to go and be your mom's trophy, but do consider going on your own behalf. You are a member of that family and that community, and that's not something to throw away without a though. Just bear in mind that all those other people are separate individuals from mom and stepdad. OP. It's not like I haven't met them, aunts, uncles, cousins. It's not like I didn't used to talk to them. They all just stopped and went on with the fantasy that this was my mom's only family. If that's what they believe, then that's what they can have. I don't want to be part of their family or community. Commenter NTA, 2 texts a year? It is telling that you say the invitation is from my mom's family, rather than my mom or my family. Her actions made it so you don't consider yourself part of her family anymore. If your mother wants to reconnect, she needs to do the work of fixing her neglect of you when you were still a minor, and that takes more than an invitation to a family party, where they probably just want you there to play happy family and make them look good. Having said that, think about damage control. You say the extended family will be there. Is there anyone where you do care about them, or what they think about you? What will your mother and stepfather say about you to everyone if you aren't there? Not being there lets them control what is being said about you. Is this something you can live with? If, say, you like your grandparents and they will be there, having lunch with them the week before and talking to them, letting them know what happened to you, will let you control the narrative. OP, my grandma will be there and she knows everything. She's the only one who I visit and even care about. She's shown me the Christmas cards and Facebook photos they've posted, and it's all in such a way that it's like that's been the only family my mom's ever had and like I haven't existed. The relatives that'll be there are always commenting positive shit to them, too. Commenter: why doesn't you grandmother ask your mom WTF is going on? How does she condone your mother not talking about you? How she doesn't keep in touch with you? I can't imagine not texting my college kids. I text them daily just to tell them I love and miss them. I don't always hear back, especially lately with finals. I'm sorry. Your mom is not a mom. She is an egg donor at this point. Your stepfather is trash. I just want to hug you. OP. I've asked my grandma not to talk to my mom or anybody else about me unless they bring me up first, and she promised to respect that. And since my grandma hasn't talked to anybody else about me, except when my mom called her regarding this, it's pretty clear how they all feel about me. Commenter: Gregory needs to STFU and mind his business. NTA, but I don't think you ATA if the relationship you described with your mom is true. She shouldn't be surprised that you declined an email invite. I feel your mom might have two possible thoughts, motives. Neither are on you. She's genuinely struggled with the relationship you two have. Over the years, she's probably realized how they've excluded you from their new family, but she never knew how to fix it or mend it. And it finally hit her that it's broken when you declined the invite. That's not on you. She could easily have reached out to you personally and invited you, assuming she doesn't know how to just mend the relationship without a gathering as an excuse. The second thought she could have is, what will PPL think? This is the more shallow perspective. She's devastated about what PPL will say that you aren't there. I don't know the full dynamic of you and your mom's relationship, so while I don't think you are a straight-up A, there is some dynastic questions that I don't know. Best of luck, OP. Painful as it is to admit, it's probably the first motive. As much as I want to not be around her, I don't think she's ever been a what will people care kind of person. And I get that there's my own fault in that, but I'm not her parent. So if I don't need her, I don't see why I should care to fix it. Commenter: okay. I don't think you'd be the AH if you decided not to go in any capacity. Your mom hasn't treated you well for years, and you'd only be going for her sake, not because you want to be there. I think your stepdad is the AH for yelling at you and calling you the AH. You have every right to decline, and there was no reason for him to yell at you, though I assume it was to do with your mom crying. Your mom is also an AH for her treatment over the years. She pushed you out for her new family. That had to be hard on you, and you don't owe them anything. OP. That was probably it. As much as I dislike him, I can't lie that he genuinely does love my mother and is protective over her and their kids. It's one of the reasons he wanted me gone so bad, and why I think the scholarship was such a relief to him. Update. Posted on December 25th, 2021. So, my mom's Christmas party went and passed this past Friday, and I figured I'd make this post as an update. Like I thought, my mom phoned me back because my grandma made her. She asked to meet me in person, but I said I didn't feel comfortable. She said she could bring Gregory or Grandma if it would help. I said hell no to Gregory, which surprised her, but I did agree to Grandma. After snow issues, we met in a coffee shop with Grandma claiming she would be a mediator. I looked at my post to see your guys' advice to, guide me before I left. I admitted to Mom I didn't want to see her, but thought this call would clear the air. I asked why barely only 2 texts a year, and she said Gregory told her college kids didn't need their moms and she would be interfering. I asked why she couldn't at least phone me to invite me, and she said Gregory told her sending an evite made me on the same level as the other relatives, and I would like being respected. That made no fucking sense to me, and I got so mad. I asked why the fuck she even wanted me there when she would treat me like extended family. She told me when I was gone, seeing how Gregory treated their kids made her realize she'd neglected me. She'd been going to therapy and wanted us to mend things. I pointed out listening to Gregory about me then was the dumbest possible thing she could do since he never liked me. I knew I'd start crying like a little bitch, so I started ranting about how I'd rather not meet my half-siblings since I know I'd resent them. They don't deserve that. How my extended family also cast me out. How everyone blamed therapy not working on me. My mom was shocked, and even more shocked when Grandma took my side in everything. I told her I was really sorry that I made her cry and it didn't make me feel better. She forgave me on that, but told me it wasn't my fault, and she deserved it. My mom asked if I'd ever come home, and I said that Gregory would either need to apologize or die. That was a bit harsh since I don't want him to die, so I said if he leaves forever is good too. My mom said she understood, started crying, apologized like 100 times, and asked if she could text or phone me more often. I said sure because it still makes me feel like shit to see my mom cry. Since then, Mom has texted me and called me every day but hasn't tried to force things. I did not go to the party since Gregory has not apologized. Grandma has been staying it with him and things aren't too good between them. They had big fights over him refusing to say sorry and how they treated me and aren't talking. I don't want my mom's marriage to end for the sake of her other kids, but I can't lie, it feels good to not be ignored. Apparently Mom wants to meet on Christmas or Christmas Eve. As long as Grandma comes, I'll let her, but I don't know if we'll ever be close again. So thanks, guys. Your advice really did help, and I'm feeling better mentally. Relevant comment. Commenter, good job sticking to your boundaries. I'm happy your mom is showing growth in realizing what was wrong, and I hope your relationship improves even if you're not super close. Also, a hell yeah to your amazing grandma for sticking by your side and acting as mediator. I hope you have a good Christmas and that things keep getting better for you. OP. Merry Christmas to you too. I don't know if things will ever get better, but her at least acknowledging she was wrong means something to me, even if I don't know what it is. And I really do love my grandma, and I'm happy that other people think she's great too. Commenter. I'm glad that your mother is understanding that she did a disservice to you and agrees that she neglected you. That's showing a lot more understanding and contrition than many mothers we see on here manage. I'd encourage you to see if you can build a relationship with your mother now, one that probably won't include Gregory. If it's just painful for you, then you can cut it off. But it sounds like something more positive than that is possible. Please don't feel like you owe it to your past self to cut your mother off or keep her at arm's length if she is a positive in your life now. OP. I don't see myself ever being around her if Grandma isn't there too. I'm happy that she knows she was wrong, but I don't know if I can trust her enough to give her a second chance to be my mom. And as for Gregory, I think she's finally gotten the message that I hate him. Commenter. It sounds like your mom is in a really abusive and controlling relationship. Those are hard to get out from under. While I'm not excusing her behavior, maybe try to see her in that light, and that her actually reaching out to you and willing to meet you on your terms is a huge step for someone in her position. OP. She didn't start treating me bad when she and Gregory got together. That started before, and he treated her like an angel when I lived with them. Maybe it's changed, but that's how it was. Commenter. OP, the day Gregory says that he is sorry, is the day he and your mom want a nanny so that they could take an extended vacation away. Don't ever be put in the position of babysitting or nannying your little sisters. Stay away at university and getting part-time jobs in the summer vacation so that you stay at school, or maybe stay with your grandmother as long as she doesn't allow your mom to show up unannounced. When you graduate, move far, far away from your mom and Gregory and their daughters. Then, if you want to see your mom in the future, she will have to make a real effort and she can leave Gregory and their daughters at home. It is great that your mom is trying to build bridges with you, but she can never go back to repair what was done. You two can only move forward, if you choose to. Good luck, OP. OP. The day Gregory says that he is sorry is the day he and your mom want a nanny so that they could take an extended vacation away. That dude didn't let me near my half-sibling. I doubt he wants me near the new one. And yeah, I'm going to keep moving forward with or without my mom, because hey, I know Grandma's got my back. Commenter. I see you've said this about your half-sib a few times in the comments. What was his problem with you being around your half-sib? When you say he didn't let you near them, what does that mean? Like he didn't want you to babysit or even interact with them? This guy sounds like a piece of work, and your mom has been criminally clueless. I hope she's seeing her horrendous error in judgment now. OP. I still don't know. He didn't want me to babysit, didn't want me to change diapers, and didn't want me to hold his kid. It's like he thought I was some jealous troll who'd throw the kid off a roof. Like I wish I felt love for the kid and the new one, but I never got the opportunity to bond, and I just don't. I feel bad for admitting it, but it is what it is. Commenter. Where is your father in all of this? OP. Overseas on some military base. Christmas meet. Posted on December 25th, 2021. So I did meet with my mom. Grandma came too, as per instructions, for lunch. We didn't talk about Gregory or anything. It was just a short meeting over coffee. We just talked about school, the engineering program I'm in, guys I've dated and stuff. I guess it was nice to talk about myself, even if it was awkward. She did ask me to spend more time with Grandma, and that made Grandma smirk, which means Grandma kept her promise about never revealing we hang out. I paid for Mom as a gift, and she gave me an old baby photo of me that she got redeveloped as a gift. I thought that was nice. I let her hug me goodbye. She didn't cry this time, so I don't feel like crap. It still feels weird, and I know it will for a long time, maybe forever. It's hard letting go of hurt, but it is what it is. Hope you guys have a good Christmas. Story 6. AITA for not bringing supplies to my friend anymore. Original post posted on January 1st, 2023. I, 19M, have known my best buddy, 19M, since we were babies. We grew up next door, went to the same school together in our tiny town, went into the same sport, and became rivals. I'm not proud to admit, but once we were in high school, I became a real jerk to him and said some awful things. Mostly because he was better at the sport than me and I was insecure. He ended up leaving town after graduation and no one knew where he was. I don't think it's all because of me, but yeah, I might have been part of the reason. He cut contact with everyone, including his mom. He was missing for months and everyone was worried. I really wanted to apologize to him, but no one could reach him. Then some kid from town was out exploring and spotted him living in a rundown house on a mountainside about 2 hours from town. I was super happy to hear he was okay. Maybe I shouldn't have, but I went up the mountain to visit him. He was surprised to see me, but he was also very happy. We caught up and I finally got a chance to apologize to him. It was like old times and we rekindled our friendship even better than before. When I first visited, I saw he didn't really have much to eat or drink up there, so I started making a trip to bring him supplies every other month. It's close by, but hard to get up there. There's no road to drive up there, so I have to walk for a few hours. But it's been a year now, and I'm getting kind of tired of it. His mom cries about missing him all the time. She can't make the trip up. I missed a month because I got sick and then had to make up work days. He was kind of annoyed about it and snapped at me because he was running low on supplies, but I'm getting annoyed that he insists on living up there. I told him he's hurting his other friends and family by keeping his reclusive life, and he needs to stop being so selfish and come back to society. It was hurting me that he wasn't taking care of himself. He looks like crap, and I always worry about what shape he'll be in when I arrive next. I also told him I was getting sick of going up a mountain every 2 months. He told me he didn't ask me to, and I was the one who volunteered to do it. I told him fine. I would stop because I didn't want to enable him to keep living away from everyone, and I haven't been back up the mountain since. I feel really bad. Everyone in town is telling me I should resume bringing him supplies and the gifts they make for him because everyone knows when my trip is coming up. He's kind of a local hero from our sports days. They're saying I'm being a jerk, but I just want him to come back or at least move to somewhere more hospitable. And I feel like if I continue bringing him stuff, he won't. Small update. I went to celebrate NY with some of my friends. I'm trying to convince them to do a group visit with me in a few weeks. I told them the only way I'd go back up again is if some of them came with me. I didn't really want to go again, but I will if other people are with me. I'm hoping that if they go once, they'll take the initiative and start visiting by themselves, too. Or better yet, we can all convince him to come down. They seemed vaguely open to it, but I'm not sure if it's, "We want to do this," or just humoring me to shut me up. Someone asks OOP why he can't resupply himself. I asked him during one of my trips, and he said he doesn't want to see people. I tried to press him, but he wouldn't say much more about it. Someone follows up asking how the friend managed to survive when he was missing. He had a lot of cans and water jugs when I first went up. He claims he also occasionally caught animals and found plants in the forest to eat. Sometimes I wonder if he was leaving to shop and didn't want to admit it because it was easier to have me do it for him. He did look very thin though, so who knows? Verdict, NTA. Update 1 posted on March 9th, 2023. So back on New Year's, I made a post about not bringing supplies up to my friend who was living on a mountain anymore. https://www.reddit.com/r// xur/amithishole/comments/1006 xur/AITA_for_not_bringing_supplies_to_my_friend/ I did end up going back up the mountain with my friends, but like I said, I didn't bring supplies. We all tried to talk to him to come down, but he refused. I was pretty disheartened, but he made his choice, and so had I. I told him I wouldn't be back, but if he ever wanted to come down, my door was always open to him. About a month later, I was surprised when there was a knock on my door, and I opened it, and it was him. He was so thin and dirty, but seeing him off the mountain made me happy. I got him cleaned up, and now he's staying with me. I was a bit surprised that he didn't want to go home to his mom, but he told me I was the only one who made an effort to be there for him when he was acting unreasonable, and that he wanted to stay with me if that was okay. So, yeah, he's living with me now, and who knows what the future holds. Edit. Thanks for all the comments. I see a lot of you are concerned that I'm not going to be able to set boundaries with him, or that he's going to mooch off of me. You don't have to worry. My grandpa set me up with a really good job at the local gym in our town, and I'm making good money and living by myself. I have enough to support the both of us for now, and really I don't mind him staying indefinitely. Giving him a safe space to recover is all I want for him right now, and we can worry about the rest later. We got him set up with a therapist online that will be seeing him twice a week, and I'm hoping it will help him. I may be a little over my head when it comes to mental health issues. I don't know how to help him myself, and I don't know when to ask him questions or when to back off. I don't want to make things worse, and I'm a bit scared to talk to him about the past. But hopefully the therapist can help him. I also urged him to call his mom. He claimed he will sometime this week. OOP mentions in the comments on what possibly could have caused his friend to seclude himself from everyone in the first place. Update 2 posted on July 15, 2023. So my buddy started therapy and made up with his mom. He's in a much better headspace now. Still hasn't gotten a job, but he does go out into the yard a lot and sometimes goes for hikes. He seems to still love the outdoors. He also loves animals. He recently got a pet rat that is the apple of his eye, but it doesn't seem to like me. The little jerk bites me whenever I pick it up. I have a pet chihuahua, and she is much better behaved. Anyway, it might not be much of a surprise, but we're together now. I always kind of had feelings for him. I just didn't want to admit it to myself when we were younger, and then we had a falling out, so it was easy to forget about for a while. He said he had always liked me too, so what I did hurt him a lot. But we're willing to put the past behind us and hopefully move forward together. I can't imagine my life without him now. He gives me something to look forward to coming home to every day. We're still in the early stage of the relationship, but I hope it will last. We're taking a vacation to Hawaii soon, courtesy of my Gramps. So I hope getting out there and experiencing the world beyond our town will help bring him out of his shell. Story 7. AITA for asking my fiancé to pay a bride price? Throw away for obvious reasons. I am not asking your opinion on bride prices. I am asking if I was wrong for doing what I did. My fiancé, 32M, is a white European man. I, 31F, am a black African woman. We've been dating for 7 years. I came to his country to study and have lived and worked here since. Ever since we started dating, he took such an interest in my culture. Asked me to teach him my language, culture, and we've even been to visit a few times. He asked me to marry him last year, and I accepted. Were planning our wedding. I mentioned we'd need to account for my family back home. We could have the traditional wedding in my home country and the white wedding in his, since we don't want to ask anyone to fly and get visas, etc. The issue came when I mentioned a bride price needing to be paid, something he scoffed at. To call it a bride price is misleading because there is so much more to it than the money that changes hands. It's our time-honored tradition that blends two families into one, and JT's always something I wanted to do when you got married. I mentioned he knew of marriage customs in my country and that they include a BP. We both work in law, human rights type of fields, so he assumed I would be against a BP. I told him I'm against it being a forced and money-making thing, but I'm asking that he does it BC, I choose it, and I want to honor my parents and culture. He refused, saying it was backwards and extortionate and it would be like he bought me. I assured him that wasn't the case. My parents would charge a tokenistic, symbolic amount, nothing crazy, just to symbolize us getting together. I said if my parents were to sell me, he couldn't afford me. This set him off in a rage because I somehow insulted him by saying that, when what I meant is my parents aren't looking to make money off me. But this is something my people have done for millennia, and I don't want to break from tradition. I have said IDK if I'm willing to go ahead with marrying him, if he isn't willing to make the trip to my country and talk to my parents about the lobola process. He says I'm forcing, manipulating him. I am not. He knew from day one who I was and where I came from. This is what my people do, and I feel for him to label it backwards is Eurocentric BC. He is viewing it from his lens, despite me having explained what it's actually about it. TLDR. My white boyfriend won't pay to honor my culture in our marriage, and IDK if I want to marry him if he's unwilling. AITA, ETA. There's a lot of misconception and ignorance in the comments. I shall try to clarify. 1. BF and I didn't talk about BP in our specific context. However, he knew from real life and fictional context the marriage customs of my people. I assumed that he, knowing what he knows, would have known the steps necessary for marrying me. Perhaps I was wrong to assume that. This lobola is no affront to him or his upbringing outside of what I view to be a judgment of moral superiority. 2. A lot of your comments are ignorant with thinly veiled racial undertones. I knew coming to a platform with predominantly white users, this was a risk. I ask that you read what you're saying before you post, and ask yourself if you're coming from a position of superiority colored by your beliefs of Africa and Africans. Step outside your worldview. 3. Frankly, my parents are wealthy. They neither need nor plan to get rich off my marriage. They have a demonstrated pattern of behavior that assures me they are reasonable and fair when it comes to this kind of thing. 4. The money is a minuscule, literally like 5%, part of the traditional marriage. But it is a part of it. The other 95% is not monetary and is a beautiful ceremony that blends two families together. My concern is that if he's willing to shun the 95% for the sake of the 5%, what does future W this man look like? 5. Culturally, if we do not go through these customs, I am not married and my marriage won't be recognized. The ceremony is a cultural must-have, the wedding ceremony a nice-to-have. My family mean a lot and my parents have done a lot for me. I disrespect my parents over something that I not only think is a non-issue, but something I agree with. You seem to miss the part where I am willingly consenting to this. Final edit. Logging off. Lobola is something I am unable and unwilling to scrap. I'll talk to him. We shall decide on the future of this relationship. If it's something he is unwilling to partake in, I guess we'll have our answer. Thanks to those of you who were useful in your advice and respectful in your disagreements. Bye. Update. On profile page but recovered from comments. Link and date unavailable due to the account being deleted. AITA mods didn't allow an update on the sub, so for those of you who've asked, here it is. I have over 100 messages in my inbox. Most are nice, some are decidedly not. I would love to respond to all of you civil people, but I have a Jube baby and I can't do that, so I'll do my best to answer here. Firstly, I want to thank those of you who reached out to check on my after this. It's kind of you, but you don't need to worry about me. I'm a big girl and I know how to handle myself. This post got a lot more traction than I was expecting. Like a lot. I don't use this sub, but it's somewhat infamous, so I thought I'd try it. It seems I was asking too much of Redditors by asking them to engage in a little cultural relativism. That's on me. I'll take that L. I've heard from so many African women in interracial relationships whose white partners have observed their version of lobola. Thank you all. It was really nice to hear from people who not only understand the culture, but have been through something similar. It is people like you I was hoping to hear from, so I'm grateful you were able to offer some perspective. I wish I could respond to you all. Know that I'm grateful for your input and I wish you well. I also heard from a lot of Asian users who have similar cultural practices which they wish to uphold when they marry. Rooting for you all, you deserve to be your authentic selves with your chosen spouses. It's always fascinating to me to hear how other people live. Thank you again for reaching out to tell me your stories. A lot of you were mad that I pointed out there was racial and cultural superiority in your comments. Stay mad. Objective morality does not exist. You're disappointed and insulted. I chose not to follow the ways of enlightened Europe and stick to the barbaric customs of my people. That's a you problem. I'm not European, and I have no desire to be. I like who I am and where I'm from. I didn't leave my country because it sucked, and I would have long left had I not met this man. If that's an affront to you, too bad. PSA for the young girls on the sub. Underlining a deal breaker is not manipulative. Don't let people tell you that. You should set your boundaries, and people are free to take it or leave it. Don't let anyone make you feel bad or bully you into doing what they want. I showed this to my fiancé. Neither of us could read through the 1,700+ comments, but we read enough to get the gist of it. Some of you will be disappointed to know we have not broken up. He has not left me. He did, however, point out that this was not the right place to ask this question, which, again, was an error on my part. He saw a lot of you making the same argument as him about it being inappropriate for him to marry me in accordance with my cultural practices. He doesn't hold this forum in high regard, so it was the wake-up call he needed to realize he was in the wrong. It's not for him to determine what is and isn't culturally appropriate in my culture. Lobola is not a cultural affront to him, but the absence of it would be to me. I was right. He did know I'd want him to go through the Lobola process. He was going to see if he could talk me out of it before his ego was bruised by a tongue-in-cheek comment. He has apologized for how he acted. Once he got off his ethnocentric high horse, he said he was willing to go through with Lobola as long as it's what I wanted. Yes, I apologized for tongue-in-cheek comment. We've signed up for premarital counseling, and we're in the process of setting a date for Lobola upon completion. People raised concerns for my well-being and asked if he could be a closet racist. I don't believe that to be the case. We've been together a long time, and this was the first time he's said something that I would consider to be racist. He's a good man. However, like everyone, he does have biases and issues to work through. That's what prompted us to sign up for premarital counseling to address and work on those. Again, thank you for caring. I'm good. A final, unexpected note to discuss messages I've had on career advice and NGOs. The development sector is messed up, this is true. However, it is a vehicle through which a lot of people receive a lot of help they need. Like everything, it has its good and bad aspects. We work in water scarcity and water rights, so we're not directly involved in the development part. I wouldn't say turn your back on it, though. We need good people to go and do good things. Remember to listen to people in the developing world. They're smart, resourceful, and they know what their communities need to thrive. Be prepared to serve their needs and you'll be okay. Good luck with it. There is a whole world outside the internet. If you view the world through your lens from your small corner of the world, you will miss out on a lot beautiful and wonderful things. I won't be reading the comments. Make of this what you will. Wear a mask and drink plenty of water. Bye. My wife, 34F, left me, 35M, because I was racist to her and I can't get her to come back. Can I recover from my mistakes? Recovered through R.A.My the Devil, May 17, 2024. Long post alert. Sorry for the brain dump. I just need help saving my family. I sincerely feel our problem started on Reddit, so I feel it's only right to come back here to see if you can help me solve the mess we made. So a few years ago, my wife came to Reddit for advice navigating a cultural clash. You can read her OG post here. In retrospect, the responses she got were awful, rude, and many racist. My wife is from Zimbabwe, I am Swiss, and we met while at university in my country. I fell for her instantly. Truthfully, I'd never seen anyone so beautiful. She was kind, so incredibly intelligent, and has this gravitational pull to her. We started off as friends, but we eventually began dating and got into a steady relationship. I wanted to marry straight away, but she had career ambitions she wanted to meet before she married. At the time of the Reddit post, I was going through some stuff. In truth, I knew the expectation of Roora was on anyone who would marry her, and I had been saving for that alongside her engagement ring for years. I had gotten into a fight with my brother before she asked me about setting a date for her Roora, where he'd said some nasty things about me being with a black woman and how I was losing myself and my cultural identity due to the concessions I'd made to be with my wife. It's why I reacted the way I did when she asked me about it, something I deeply regret to this day. After the shit show that was that post, we spent 3 months in couples counseling. She repeatedly told me that she didn't want to force me to do anything I didn't want to do. She said that she deserved to be with someone who enthusiastically embraced all parts of her. And if any part of me took issue with her culture, she asked that I bow out before I tied us together for life. I confessed that I knew all along about the Rora, and I had prepared for it. But the conversations with my brother are what led me to say what I did. She was mad. I'd allowed her to be mocked, ridiculed, and bullied by strangers online because I couldn't communicate with her, but we worked through. We had a beautiful traditional wedding in her country, then another one with my traditions in mine. Her family was kind and welcoming, making many concessions for me as they had done since I met them. We planned on starting a family soon after we married, but she'd always said she wanted to have her babies back in her country so she can have her family around her. We had agreed that this is what we'd do. It's important to note that my wife doesn't really like living here. She says she hates living here. We lived in Sweden for much of our relationship, and many will know the people are on the cold side. She hated the food, the weather, struggled with the cold people. Her country's people are very warm and friendly, and for the last 2 years she had to go on antidepressants because it was all a bit much for her. She asked me when we were going to move, and I asked for us to hang on for a while so I can finish a project I'm leading at work. We'd fought about this in the past, but this time she just nodded at me, so I thought she finally got it. That was over 18 months ago, and we didn't end up moving as I got promoted, and it became harder to walk away. Her grandma passed away, so I attributed the low mood to that. Our problems came when she asked me if I was having an affair with my colleague. This was when I got home late one evening and found her sitting in the dark. I'd forgotten she was making dinner for us, to be honest, because I had a lot going on at work and it just slipped my mind. I told her that colleague and I were working late and I forgot, sorry. She grew confrontational and told me I was spending a lot of time with colleague lately and she's noticed her name on my phone more than a few times. She asked me if there was anything she ought to know. This is when I may have killed my marriage. I told her I didn't give her father a truck full of cattle for her to question me. This was my house, my wife, and if I wanted to have something on the side that was nobody's business but mine. She looked like I'd slapped her, and I could see her holding back tears. I don't know why I didn't drop to my knees and beg forgiveness. Instead, doubled down and told her to stop the theatrics. Here's the thing. I'm not having an affair of any kind with my colleague. We really were just heavily into this project we're both super excited about. I don't know why I couldn't just say that to my wife. She didn't come to bed that night, and I left early in the morning the day after, and came home when she was asleep. This continued for days, where I avoided her because I couldn't face the guilt. On the Friday, came home to a gift box that contained a positive pregnancy test and a long letter from my wife. I won't share all of it, but she said she was going to tell me on the night I bailed on dinner that I had hurt her beyond measure with what I said to her, and that she was no longer going to show her love for me through self-sacrifice. She told me she doesn't consent to be in a polygamous relationship, and since it's what I want, I should expect to receive divorce papers from her soon. She left her rings and house keys, too. I had a panic attack. I was able to call for help before the worst of it came, but I spiraled. I had monumentally fucked up and lost my wife and unborn child because of it. I tried to call her, but her phone was going straight voicemail. I called her brother, who was short with me but assured me she was fine. He wouldn't tell me more. I finally tracked her down after 2 weeks. She'd gone back to her parents in Zimbabwe. I can't follow her just yet because the project I've worked on for so long now is near completion, and I can't walk away. My friends told me I was racist to my wife in my actions because I never would have tried that with a white man and tried to use her culture against her. The fact that I wasn't even serious make me more cruel, apparently. She still won't speak to me. I have tried all avenues and she won't hear me out. I love her beyond measure, and I don't know how to get her back. Please, help me. Story 8. AITA dad gave the business to brother, so I left. Original. Posted 1 year ago. My older brother, 30M, went to university and then worked in the city as an accountant. I, 27M, stated to work for my dad as a plumber at 15 and went to college to get my qualifications in plumbing and gas. About the time COVID started, my brother moved back from the city and started working for my dad, 55M, in accounting. My dad has been unwell for the last 4 years due to asbestosis. It has been really hard on the family, and he's getting worse, but is still loving life. I have been running the business for the last 2 years. We have expanded and now have 50 vans in the fleet and 1 qualified and 1 trainee allocated to each van. COVID was hard in the beginning, but we have bounced back. My dad still works on tools with me on Fridays. Half day then back to my place for some beers. Friday is the only day I'm on tools now, as I'm doing everything to run the business. Well, last month he told the family he is stepping down from the business due to health and wants to spend more time with my mother, and is giving the business to my brother and for me to step down from acting CEO. This upset me. I've been with the business for 12 years. At the beginning it was only me and my dad. My brother never wanted to be in the business. Said it was not worth his time. And now he's the boss. And I've been dumped back to a heating engineer with a 20,000 pounds pay cut. He doesn't have any clue what we do or how to do it. I spoke to my dad, and he told me that my brother deserves it for all he has done, that he has a family and I don't, and that he went to uni. A lot of the workers are upset about the decision and have told me they will go where I go. I told my dad that if that is how he feels, then I will leave and start my own business. I have not spoke to my dad or brother since and have told them to never contact me. For the last month, I've had thousands of calls and messages from family saying some very hurtful things and telling me I'm ungrateful for what I have, so AITA, eat it. I want to say thank you to everyone for your kind words. There are so many to reply to. I will do my best to thank you all. To hear my father tell me in his own way he doesn't think I'm good enough was hard, and for my family to take his and my brother's side was even harder. In the morning, I will contact the large clients I've worked with over the last 6 years. I know we had some site postponed due to COVID, big money, and will try and take them over. I have 20 of my colleagues wishing to come work for me. I've saved nearly all of the money I have earned over the last 12 years, so think I have enough to get myself on my feet. Update. I want to inform everyone that I'm not starting a business to destroy my brother. As much as I want to, I've spent almost 13 years build it. And I don't want to see anyone out of a job or for the business to die. It's about 0500 in England. You have all helped me so much. I will be going over to talk to my father about 0800 and take him out for breakfast and talk. I'm not sure if I will get a proper answer from him, but I love my family and want my future kids to know them. I will update after the events of later today. Update 2. As I said in one of the comments, I believe my family had found my post, and they did. This morning when I arrived at my parents' house, my mom opened the door and looked like she had been crying a lot. My dad came over to talk to me, and we went out for breakfast. He didn't say a word on the way there or when we arrived. When on the way back, he asked if we could pull over and talk. I can honestly say this was the first time I saw my dad cry. I asked why he did this to me. He said doesn't know I keep her pushing, and he finally told me he owed it to my brother for not being about for him as much as me when we were growing up. And there was times my brother needed him. But we was working. I couldn't believe it after 12 years of hard work. That was his reasoning. I told me father I had spent half my life working to do everything for the business, and how he throw me to the side just because his son came back hurt more. Then I could explain. He told me he knows as they had been shown the post I put up. To my surprise, he wasn't mad. He seemed remorseful. He told me my mother has been in pieces after reading the comments about how bad she treated me, and thinks I will never talk to them again. My dad told me after reading it all. He released. He should have split the business between us, as it will need both of us to keep progressing, and apologies to me for never telling me how proud he was of everything I had done, and thought I know how proud he was. But my brother has full control. My father has no say anymore, and my brother would never go 50/50ths. He told me he wants me to go back as my brother will need me. I told him that's not my problem anymore after they demoted me and cut my pay. I tried to make it work for 3 weeks, but my brother wouldn't listen, didn't believe I know what I was talking about, telling me he knows how to fund a business. So I left why work my ass off there when I could do the same work and make more money for myself. My dad broke down, said that he had destroyed the family and should never had done what he did. I don't understand why I took this long to release. I was a valuable piece in the company. Update 3. As I said, I have had a couple of Zoom calls with some clients today and they have gone very well. I have been informed that we all be sending signed proposal letters for the up-and-coming work. Lucky the site start dates don't clash. That was one of the main things I was worried about. 3 of my colleagues have now left the business and have spoken to my dad, informing him about why they left and that they will be coming to work with me under their own choice. To hear them tell me this meant a lot. They all have between 5-10 year more experience in the industry. At the moment, I have all we need to start a new business with the 3 vans I own and tools I have built up over the years. I am looking forward to the new venture in my life and can't wait to share this with my children when I have them. Then I received a call from my father asking me to come over for dinner. I was unsure at first, but thought it was probably a step in the right direction. On arrival, my whole family was there. I went in and the atmosphere dropped. My mum wouldn't look at me, and my brother just sat there acting as if I didn't exist. My dad came and asked me and my brother to come into his office. He started to ask when I was going to return to the company as they need me in early Monday morning. I could not even believe what I was hearing. I told them both I'm not coming back and have started my own company. And what does he mean? You gave the business to him. My brother. My brother stated to lose his temper, telling me if I cared about the company, why would I leave? I have some very choice words before telling him that I have always cared for the company and spent 12 years of my life working to make it successful, unlike him who swans in and takes all the glory, and that I will not sit there and be treated like that. I told my brother to F***K off so I could talk to Dad. I asked what was this morning all about, telling me he's sorry, but then expects me to going running back. He couldn't even look me in the eye, so I left, said goodbye to my cousin, nieces and nephews, and walked out. I've been riding for about 3 hours on and off, coming back on here to talk to people. I just want to say thank you to everyone for the personal message, comments, rewards, and all the kind words and encouragement. I'll try and message everyone, but I'm exhausted and will most likely fall asleep. Final update. Sorry it's been a while. I've had a lot going on in the last couple of weeks. I'll try and explain the most I can. So the new business is going very well. We have a lot of work coming in and making good money. At the end on the year, I will be looking at expanding, so very happy with that. Me and my fiancée are very happy. She is very busy planning the wedding of her dreams. She wants me to wear a suit, but tough lucky I'll be in my kilt. I couldn't be happier. Then I am right now waking up to her every day. She is there for me no matter what, and has been my rock through everything. Then my family, my father and brother, still refuse to talk to me and have told me they will not be attending the wedding. Even though they haven't been invited, my mother has called my fiancé but hasn't said much, only to ask about wedding stuff, and will not talk to me. My fiancé family have been amazing. My soon-to-be in-laws have been helping with the wedding and everything else, and I am extremely thankful for everything they have done for us. My other family have now backed off and apologized and want to make amends for everything that was said. Myself and my fiancé are set to have our wedding in November. We sat down together and have decided to trying to have children after we are married. We are both excited to be parents. Story 9. AITA for telling my boyfriend I won't be following his family's traditions. Original post, November 8th, 2024. Me, 21F, and my boyfriend, let's call him Alex, 23M, have been dating for about 3 years now. We've recently began talking about marriage and kids, something we both eventually want to have. The other day, a reel popped up on my FYP of cute boy names, and I saw the name Everett. I thought it was adorable and jokingly told him how it has to be our firstborn's name. He laughed and said he liked it, but it'll have to wait for the second kid. I was confused and asked him why. He told me that his family has a tradition that every firstborn boy in the family has the same name. His oldest brother has it, his uncle has it, his grandfather has it, and so on. For the sake of privacy and how oddly unique the name is, I'm not going to say it. I'm not judging in the slightest, but this is a weird name and it's honestly not my favorite. I would never say that to any of his family members, but I did tell Alex I'm not a huge fan of it. I told him I don't really want to follow those footsteps, and he got upset and told me he can't be the one to break the tradition. He told me I was being an asshole for suggesting anything else. I told him I won't change my mind and we should make it a middle name or find another compromise. Alex has 5 siblings. The tradition will continue if he doesn't do it. And frankly, I think I should get a say in what I name my kid. I told him since I'm the one carrying the hypothetical child for 9 months, and it would already be getting Alex's last name, I should have some say in the first name. For context, I have 2 siblings, both girls. I'm the youngest, and my eldest sisters are both married and took their husbands' last names. It makes me a little sad that when I marry Alex, my last name will go out of existence. I've talked to him about hyphenating ours, something he doesn't want to do. But anyways, I really don't want to name our firstborn son, if we ever even have a boy, that name. He thinks I'm whining for no reason, since we don't even have a kid yet, and I'm not pregnant. But I think my concerns are valid. I've told some friends about it, and most of them think I'm overreacting over something that doesn't even exist yet. So am I the asshole for telling my boyfriend I don't want to follow his family's tradition? Some of OOP's comments. Commenter: great conversation to have before marriage and kids. You get to decide if this is a deal-breaker for you. What other subjects does he believe you have no say in? OOP. Downvoted. The thing is, we get along great. We've had minor disagreements, but never argued over anything this big until now. For all the people saying break up, he's really a great guy. He thinks my last name is weird, which, to be quite honest, it is LOL. It doesn't make me any less sad about eventually losing it. This is our first big argument, and I think it's why I'm at such a loss. Commenter: and not even his own name, his big brother's name. Is every kid meant to name their first son that name? All the cousins are Gustavo or whatever? OP: all oldest sons are supposed to have it. His dad wasn't the oldest son. So yes, a bunch of his nephews will all hold the same name at some point. Commenter, in reply to previous commenter listed above: that's what I wondered too. I feel like he doesn't even understand his own tradition. I think it's just one per generation, not every firstborn to every sibling. OOP. That's what I thought too until I met him. It's not a culture thing, I've politely asked. If it was, I'd be a lot more understanding. It's just an odd tradition. Commenter: my question is, if all his siblings follow this tradition, won't there be like 5 kids with the same name in the same family within the same age range? That would already have me saying no. Can you imagine going to a family get-together and trying to call for your son and his 4 other cousins also come running because they have the same name? No thank you. NTA. OOP. Yes, there would. And I've pointed that out, and he's admitted to me that sometimes it was annoying on family camping trips when he'd yell his cousin's name and 3 others would turn around. Which confuses me because why would he want to continue that? Answers to various questions. We've talked about at least 2 kids close in age later in life. Right now we live pretty close to his family. My family lives on the other side of the country. I've expressed moving closer to my family when I finish nursing school, something he hasn't expressed disinterest in. His family is very religious while I'm not. Alex isn't really either, and he's moved away as he's gotten older. Commenter: it's a tradition in your and most family that the kids have a unique name chosen by their parents. Lol. Why would his tradition be more important? Why would he unilaterally choose a name? Also, if you want, you can keep your last name. OOP. Downvoted. I know that, but he finds the idea of me eventually taking his romantic, and I do too. It's complicated, and maybe I do sound like I'm whining for no reason, LOL. I like his last name plenty. It's just the idea of mine twinkling out of existence makes me a little sad. And if none of my kids could take it, it wouldn't matter that I kept it. It would still be gone one day. Commenter: the issue isn't the name. The issue is your BF's attitude toward you having ideas that differ from his. He dismisses your wants and puts his family's tradition ahead of you. To him, it's not even a discussion. That's actually a little scary. You give 2 examples of him being inflexible, your last name and a baby name. I'll bet you can think of other incidents that fit this pattern too. This is a glimpse into your future. Are you sure you want the rest of your life to look like this? OP. We don't argue really at all. But we've had one big argument in our relationship, and he's already ignoring me too. He's been sleeping in the guest room and won't talk to me when I try to sit down. An hour before I posted this, he texted me saying he needed space, and that was it. I don't want to lose him, and I didn't know where else to go, so I came here. I just want to thank you all for your comments and support. I didn't know I could get this much advice, and I'm beyond grateful for it. It's given me a lot to think about. Mini update in comments. 14 hours later. I have no idea how to make an update, but I feel like I owe it to you all to make one when the time comes, so please let me know how LOL. As of right now, I just texted him and told him that when he gets home from work, we need to have a serious conversation, and I have some important things to tell him. Not totally sure what those are yet, but I'm going to find a way to start the convo. Update post November 10th, 2024, 2 days from OG post. So we talked. I pulled him aside after he finished work, and we sat down and had a long conversation. I told him that I felt hurt that he doesn't seem to be caring about my feelings, and I never intended for a joke about TikTok names to turn into all of this. I took your guys' advice and was really honest with telling him how I was really sad by the fact that I would lose my last name when we did eventually get married. At first he seemed confused and said if it really mattered that much to me, I could just keep my last name and our kids could have his. I told him it seemed counterproductive to keep my last name because one day I'd still die and so would the name. He asked me what I wanted to do about it, and we ended up compromising that our first son would have a shortened version of the traditional name that runs in his family. Not a nickname, but we would literally just shorten the name, and that would be his. And along with that, when we eventually do get married, we'll hyphenate last names. I will admit Reddit got me a little in my head and had me thinking we would break up over this, so I was pretty emotional during this conversation, LOL. I know this isn't the super exciting update you guys wanted. I also showed him the post, and he read some of the comments. This is a direct quote from him, something he wanted me to tell you guys. Thank you for helping my name, while I was being a dick. I don't really think he was being a dick now that I've seen his side, but he's also worried he has people after him now, LOL. He really is a sweet guy, and this wasn't anything to break up over. When we talked, he expressed that he was hurt because as much as the tradition seemed silly, it was something he had always been looking forward to eventually doing. We're not engaged yet, but I have a feeling something might happen this Christmas. We'll see. But yeah, I cannot believe how much that post blew up, and you guys really helped me and Alex out. Thank you all for the support. Top comments. Ms. Fear, I'm personally happy when I see an update with no drama. I'm glad you were able to discuss it and compromise. It's a good sign for your relationship. External_expert_2069. If he was uncompromising, I think it would totally be breakup worthy. Fortunately, it ended up completely different, and that's awesome. You both listened to each other and came up with a plan. As long as he doesn't call you an asshole and a whiner moving forward, this is solid. Efrendel. So you're telling me that you two sat down, had a mature conversation, and worked out your differences? Well, damn. Overall _search_3207. Overall good update, and I agree that Reddit is big on the instant breakup reaction. However, I do think this should serve as a wake-up call to him that it's time to grow up and really understand the position y'all are in. If you are looking to get married, he has to realize that you are becoming adults, and he should act like one. When my wife expresses a concern, especially about children, that concern is as important if not more to me than any concern I have. I'm sure he can grow and realize it, but better sooner rather than later. Story 10. AITA for straightening my daughter's hair without my wife's permission? I, male 32, have a 4-year-old daughter. Let's call her Gracie. Gracie is half black, her mother, female 31, being African American. Her mother overall handled all of Gracie's hair care and taught me how to do simple styles, but even those simple styles were difficult. My wife ended up going on a vacation with her friends to celebrate her friend's birthday, and my mother came over to visit. I hadn't done Gracie's in a few days, so it became nappy and unmanageable. When I tried to comb her hair, the comb broke. My mother said that I should get my daughter a perm so her hair would be more manageable, so I took her to a salon and got it permed. My wife got home, and when she saw our daughter, she was livid. She screamed at me and then at my mother for even suggesting that, but I think she's overreacting because it's just hair. Then she brought up our wedding. My mother had tried to get my wife to straighten her hair for the wedding, but my wife refused because she wanted her natural hair on her wedding day so she could be as natural as possible. My mother often comments on my wife's and daughter's hair, and I agree with my mother. But now my wife's telling me that perms chemically burn and damage hair to change the texture and that I damaged our daughter's hair. Now she's thinking of getting our daughter's hair cut so her hair can heal from the damages, but I still think she's overreacting. Besides, I don't want my daughter's hair to be cut. She looks so cute now. Am I the asshole for straightening my daughter's hair without my wife's permission, even though Gracie is my daughter too? OP is voted YTA, with many people pointing out how damaging to Gracie's hair this could be, as well as the racism in OOP's word choices. Edit. I've read the comments and came to a realization about my marriage and my wife, and now I just feel horrible. My wife's mentioned in passing about her childhood and was always vague about it, but after overhearing a conversation between her and my mother-in-law, I just realized how much I truly messed up. My wife is dark-skinned and tall, and she got bullied for that along with her hair. She went to a predominantly white school in Bogalusa, and that made her hate herself and her looks for a while. My God, my wording was horrible too. My wife is beautiful and so is my daughter, and their hair isn't a problem. I'm the problem and so is my mother. After hearing my wife's conversations about me and my mother, I realized that my mother's a bully, and I'm just a drone follower. My mother constantly picked on my wife, and I just stood by and blindly agreed because she's my mom. But that woman who I married is my wife, and I should have protected her from my own ignorance and my mother's ignorance. I took something she took pride in and belittled it. I was too lazy to learn and took my mother's advice. Hell, my mother's said so many cruel things that I didn't think twice of until reading these comments. She'd always make sure my daughter didn't play outside when she'd go over her house because she didn't want her to be darker like her mother, and that comment made me uncomfortable. But I took it as a weird joke. I'm cutting my mother off, and I'm going to apologize to my wife and daughter and start watching hair tutorials again. I'm also going to sign up for a hair braiding class when the pandemic has slowed down once more. God, I'm a horrible husband and father. When my wife is willing to talk to, I won't force her. I'll apologize, and if she wants to leave me over this, it'll hurt like hell. But I'll understand. I've just pushed her to the sidelines for so long and couldn't even see it. I am the asshole, the biggest asshole here. Edit 2. I just got off the phone with my mother. My wife listened in on the phone call. I didn't realize she was in the living room with me until she put her hand on my shoulder during the call. My mother is well, livid. She freaked out on me and threatened to call CPS when I told her I didn't want her coming around my wife and daughter and refused to even try to understand what we did wrong. Then I mentioned the damage that the perm could cause to my daughter. I read a small article by a black-owned hair care company about childhood perm horror stories, along with the history behind perms, and I'm just disgusted with myself and my mother. And my mother said my wife was being a drama queen. When I told her my daughter might need a haircut behind this, she flipped out and said, "I won't let my granddaughter look like a bull D*K." And I was mortified. She said she's take my daughter from me and my wife and raise her the way God intended. That caused a screaming match. My wife put her hand on my shoulder in the midst of it and took the phone from home and told my mother if she comes to our home again, the police will be called, and then she hung up. I put our baby to bed and then we talked. My daughter and wife are beautiful, and I don't understand how for the life of me I thought those horrible things. Maybe it was like that SNL sketch Diet Racism. Hearing those things from your parent and just blindly listening, no matter how horrible it sounds. My wife is still mad at me, rightfully so. But she told me she isn't leaving me over this. She said I have a lot to learn, and that if I want this relationship to last, I need to open my eyes and realize that the world I live in is different from the one she lives in, and different from the world our daughter will live in. I'm horrified at myself and horrified at my mother. My father called a few moments ago, but I ignored the call. I'll talk to him in the morning about this. Thank you all for talking some sense into me, and I thanked my wife for staying with me even though she doesn't have to. Tomorrow we are asking our baby girl if she wants a haircut. Knowing her, she'll want to get one like her uncle. He has these cool designs shaved into hide head. If she wants that, she can have that. She's my world, and I refuse to ever be this ignorant and harmful to her again. Final edit. My wife and I arranged for our daughter to spend the night at my mother-in-law's house, and couples therapy will be in the near future. The comments sections have certainly given me many perspectives of how horrible my words and actions are. I won't be doing any more replies or edits, because this is a throwaway account. I think that's the right term for this. My mother has called the house multiple times from my sister's phone. My sister is 25 and lives for drama. So now the whole family on my mother's side is blowing up my phone with many mixed opinions, most of which are horrible. It's funny, the only family member whose opinion reflects this comment, section's common consensus, is the one who was disowned a few months ago. Well, actually, that's not funny. It shows how messed up my family is. Thank you all for these replies, no matter how harsh or mean they might seem. I needed this. Story 11. AITA flipping out on my fiancé for canceling all the vegan food options from our wedding food menu behind my back? Original post August 5th, 2022. My fiancé, 31 male, and I, 25 female, are getting married soon. There wasn't much that disagreed on during the wedding planning except for food. Me and my family are vegans, and there's so many reasons why we chose this lifestyle, and one of them being that we have a history of health issues. My fiancé and his family are the complete opposite. They're hardcore meat eaters, which is fine by me, obviously. However, when deciding on the wedding food menu, I wanted to add 5 vegan options. My fiancé and his mom objected, saying it was a waste of money over food that isn't real food. They also argued that this would be offensive for their guests and suggested my vegan options just be the good old salads and appetizers. His mom wanted cupcakes, lol. I said no because for one, it's me and my family who's paying. And two, I want to make my guests feel welcome and not be treated as second-class citizens by being served salad. My fiancé made a face and said, "Isn't that what vegans eat?" I refused to argue about it and said it was final. The other day I found out that he had canceled all the vegan options and took them off the menu completely and behind my back. I was seething. I called him at work, but he kept hanging up on me. I went straight to his workplace and confronted him there and just flipped out on him. He was stunned to see me. He at first said it was his mom's idea, then told me to go home because I was making a scene at the office. The fight continued at home, and he defended himself by saying that I sort of made him resort to doing this after I kept brushing off his throws and input and refusing to accommodate his family. But there were plenty of meat options. Why can't I get 5 vegan options? When I'm paying for it, he yelled that it was his wedding too, not my family's. My family said it was fine and they'll figure it out and told me to let it go, but I refused. AITA for putting my foot down on this? Verdict, not the asshole. Update. So his mom messaged me earlier to try to get me to listen to what she had to say after I kept ignoring her phone calls. She spent long walls of text just to address what I did at her son's workplace, calling it all kinds of stuff from immature to unhinged. She then went to explain how she's noticed that me and my family kept acting dismissive of her son's input and contributions to the wedding. She said that she noticed my behavior towards him and her entire family, and wanted to speak up earlier but didn't, and tried to keep the peace. She then went on to address the food menu issue and denied her involvement in the cancellation of the vegan option, but that didn't mean she doesn't support her son's decision. Moreover, she thought it was so responsible of him to make that move because of my continual refusal to see how this stuff is waste of money. She also pointed out how I kept saying I paid for it, and said that technically this isn't just my money, it's mine and his because we're getting married. She suggested I wisen up and get rid of my money, I paid for it mentality. She finally mentioned how bad this whole situation is making me look, and said that she and her son had already offered a number of compromises that I chose to brush off and decided to make it my weird hill to die on. She said that not only her son is upset, but she and the family are as well after hearing about it, and suggested I just egg her on their compromise and be done with it. This pissed me off beyond belief. I responded by letting her know that I'm still standing my ground on this, even if I'll have to call the whole wedding off because of it, because honestly, this is just ridiculous. It is. My mom and dad, they don't even know what to say anymore. Apparently, my fiancé saw my response to her, he's with her, and is now trying to call me, but right now I'm waiting on him to get home and see if he's still insisting on the stance he took. I'll update if there's anything worth adding after we talk. Relevant comment? Ansela Jonla. NTA. Are you sure you want to marry this man and his family? They have no respect at all for you and yours. OOP. Frankly, I have no idea why his mom feels so strongly about getting involved. I only included in wedding planning only because I respect her, but I guess it's like they say give an inch and they'll take a mile. Jet it together. Info. How many options are there in total? So like 4, 5 non-vegan and 4, 5 vegan, meaning 8, 10 options for meals. Is this a buffet or restaurant reception? Or is this a multi-course menu? And so there's essentially 1 vegan meal with 4, 5 courses? NTA, because he did this behind your back without talking to you. But I'm wondering why he cares what other people eat. Also, he's the AH for claiming he doesn't know what vegans eat. You're vegan. He knows you eat more than salad. OP. Aside from the vegan, we have 6 options with meat. His mom picked one. I'm paying for the whole thing. Ham down 1. If you marry him, this is the rest of your life. He'll do whatever his mom says when it comes to your kids and managing your life. Update August 11th, 2022, 1 week later. Didn't realize how long the title was LOL. So the talk didn't go well. I waited for him to come home so we could have a final conversation about it, but he still insisted on his stance. For more details, his family are a bit on the heavy side. Nothing wrong with that. They're perfectly within their right to decide how to live, but they get easily offended at the mention of the words weight and food. I tried so hard to focus on the issue at hand, but I noticed there was a pattern of this behavior. He said it wasn't true, and that this was just an attempt for me to throw past conflicts at him in order to win the current one. He claimed he tried to reason with me about why and how his guests might see those vegan options as offensive. Also said that his family love food and consider it a big deal, and how he didn't want his family to feel like there's certain options that they couldn't touch and feel that there's difference in how I treat them versus how I treat my family. He then went on to explain how it's just an event and how my family should just accept what's on the menu, and if they felt inconvenience, so what? It's just a one-time thing. They're not going to die if they had salad and appetizers. What he said wasn't good enough reason for me because his folks are going to think and say what they want. But at the end of the day, it's my wedding. And to be honest, realizing that my partner himself thinks it's okay to steamroll my opinions and decisions simply because he's prioritizing others and their opinions over me was really upsetting and not something that could be looked past. Normally, I'm a person of rational discussions and compromises. I'm all about compromises. I'd compromised on much bigger matters than just food, but like people said, it's not about the food anymore, if it ever was. Like, he'd literally lose nothing if he let me have what I wanted, but apparently he was willing to lose it all over this, which is fine by me. I gave him back the ring and called everything off. I just couldn't envision myself living like this any longer, having to walk on eggshells for his family and letting him basically override my opinions and have the final say no matter what. Marriage is about compromise, and here he has nothing to lose, yet chose to do this to me and my family. Mind you, this is my first serious relationship, and I didn't know what to expect, but it's safe to say that he and his mom and family did make it feel like I was taking crazy pills on many, many occasions, so that's that. Last thing he said was that I chose my family over him and ended everything between for the sake of keeping him happy. Decision's been made and it's done. Just wanted to give an update to those who wanted it. Thank you so much for your endless stream of advice and support. Relevant comment? Deleted. Good for you. Marriage is about compromise, and it doesn't sound like your ex is interested in compromising, or even letting you have a say in things. That isn't a partnership. OP. Thank you. And you're right. Honestly, I felt kind of hesitant about posting an update. In fact, I was hesitant about posting my situation as a whole. Normally, I'm not the time to share my private business online, but I was desperate. Like Isaid, there were times where his family made me feel like I was taking crazy bills. Honestly, and I'm going to say this anyway, I hate them. They always made me feel like an outsider and a stranger. Never really warmed up to me and instead pretended to like me, but it was obvious they resented me. They claimed that I'm a covert fatphobic, but in reality I got mocked, along with my family, for being underweight due to health issues I'd mentioned before. Don't even get me started on ex-future Mill, though I feel as though I gotta let it all out and vent. MSPK 7305. You go, girl. Dude 100% laid out a roadmap where only his opinion matters, and yours is irrelevant. This probably wasn't the first time, but it for sure would not be the last. OP. Exactly. Like I said, I'd noticed a pattern of this behavior but kept rationalizing it, which was a huge mistake on my part. It's been utter torture trying to please him and his family. I'm an emotional mess right now, but there's this little voice of reassurance telling me I've gone through the worst and survived it. I'm so thankful this happened. It helped me see things clearer.